Hey guys, welcome to Rotorite Workbench. Today I'm going to teach you how to fix the black video, but you still have OSD problem on your Vision 40 if you have ran into the issue. So the tools that you're going to need are a very small Phillips head screwdriver, as well as a 1.5 millimeter hex driver. We sell both of these at the Rotorite store if you guys don't have some, or you can go to your local Lowe's and they'll probably have something there. The fix for this problem is going to be the Mipi cable that connects the camera to the VTX. So usually if you still have OSD but just black video, this cable has come loose, so I'm going to teach you guys how to plug that back in. If you have black video but you don't see any OSD, that's probably a little bit more of an issue with one of the boards is actually broken. You know, if you have black video and no OSD, this video is not going to help you, but if you have black video and OSD, we're here to help. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Rotorite Vision 40 and a small Phillips head screwdriver. And there are 4 screws on the top of the drone. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're gonna go ahead and loosen all 4 of these screws. Don't remove them all the way. So each one of these screws has 2 little white washers. Make sure you don't lose those because that helps the spacing between the top VTX and the flight controller. So just loosen them enough to where, you know, it's loose, but that the white gummies are not falling out. I'm gonna go ahead and do that for all 4 screws. Okay, so now our canopy is removed from the drone. Like I said, make sure that these white gummies are not falling off, and if they are, it's very important to put them back because that will cause issues with the spacing between the 2 boards. So the Mipi cable that you're going to want to look at, there's 2 connections. First, we're going to show you on the VTX side. It's on the back left side of the drone. So you'll see the VTX is right there. On the bottom is the Mipi cable. And you're just gonna wanna take the Phillips head screwdriver and just make sure it's fully seated into the slot. There is some glue that's gluing it down, so hopefully this side isn't the issue, but just kind of make sure it's fully seated in there. If you're struggling to click it in, don't force it because you could bend some metal and that would be bad. So just make sure once you feel a click, then it's fully seated in. So that's how to fix the problem on the VTX side. Now the Mipi cable that's connected to the camera, there's 2 ways that you can go about trying to get this seated if you see it's unseated. You can try to just take your Phillips head or any tweezers really and just push it back into place through the canopy. If that doesn't work or if you're having a hard time doing that, I'm going to show you how to take the whole canopy off. So we already have the same 4 screws completely unscrewed, and we're going to have to remove the gray canopy from the top board. So the little white gummies, we're gonna remove all of those from each of the 4 screws. Make sure not to lose these. These are very important to the build to make sure everything works good, so. Cool. So once you take all the gummies off, you should have 8 of them sitting aside. From there, you can remove the gray canopy from the top board. Make sure that the screws aren't scratching any of these chips, so try to keep them as distant as possible. If you really want to, you can remove all 4 of these screws from the 3D prints. I think it's easier just to leave them on. I think it is not a necessary step, but if you're worried about scratching the board, definitely would remove them. So now we have the gray canopy removed. We're gonna go ahead and take our 1.5 hex driver, and the camera has a screw on the left and right side. So you can go ahead and remove those. So put it in, lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. So we're gonna spin it to the left, make sure it's fully out. Don't lose these screws, they're very small. Just gonna put them aside here. Do on the left side now. And you should now be able to remove the camera. Okay, so the cable that you're gonna be checking is the cable on the back of the camera. This drone was already in, but for sake of video, I will remove it and show you guys how to put it back in. So yeah, so if your Mipi cable and your camera are separated, so you're gonna wanna make sure you plug it in correctly. The Mipi connector is more up top on the board, that's the top of it. This is the top side of the Mipi cable, this is the top side of the board. We're going to lay it into the connector like that, and we're just gonna make sure it's fully seated. I like to get it seated, and then click it in kind of with my nail, so that's fully seated. And then after that, I will take the 1.5 again. Just be very careful, don't put too much pressure, but just make sure it's fully seated on the side, middle, and edge. So side, middle, edge. And your camera's fully seated there. So before you put the drone all together, to make sure you have the camera seated, go ahead and plug in a battery to the drone and check in your goggles and make sure you have video, just so you don't have to put the drone together and back again. That's how you fix that. We're gonna go ahead and put it back together. Just gonna do the same thing in reverse. So camera in. We're gonna take our hex and our screw. Screw that in. I like to get the screw seated in the driver first, and then I'll go put it in the camera, or just to go screw it in. I think it's a little bit easier. Cool. So when you put it back together, you want to make sure that you're putting the canopy on the right way. So just as a good rule of thumb, kind of from earlier, the Mipi cable connected to the VTX, that should be on the back left side of the drone. So this is the back left side of the drone. So the canopy, the camera will be facing this way. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that all seated. We're gonna make sure that we put the white gummies back onto the screw underneath the gray canopy. So just like this, boom. We're gonna put 2 of these clear gummies on per screw, so 2 per screw. Now that we have all of those on, we're just gonna go ahead and put them back through the 4 holes on the top board, the VTX, like that. You're gonna wanna make sure that the screws are being seated in the hole of the VTX, and then once they're through the VTX on top, the top board, make sure they're going into the blue gummies underneath it. Then from there, we're just gonna go ahead and screw all of them back down. Make sure you are screwing into the part that's supposed to be screwed into and not like just screwing into the board, because that would be no bueno. So that's how to fix the Mipi cable on your Rotorite Vision 40 drone. You know, hopefully this fixed your problem. If not, hit us up on email at support@rotorites.com and we'll get you squared away. Bye.